a number of years was finally fulfilled, and that is I was able to demonstrate something in the 911 arena that we've been working on. So Mark first said, is this about Baudo tones? I said no. Tin can and strings? I said no. I did a first presentation actually many years ago on trying to do solicited video for 911, and I've been to a few of the IIT shows and have done something on how to use video and multimedia in 911. And at that time, back in 2012, we played around with soliciting multimedia videos from a 911 call taker or dispatcher, but it required a mobile app download, which was always challenging to ask somebody on the fly in the middle of their emergency, hey, please can you download an app? And then lastly, at that time, there were only 3G networks, so really the bandwidth required to have a rich and robust session wasn't there. But several things have changed over that time. Last year, presented on WebRTC. This conference, we've seen so much on WebRTC, new technologies. Really now is the time for being able to contemplate how to use video WebRTC in a 911 type of framework and other related emergency services. And really up until this time, WebRTC was fairly Android specific. However, we were able to demonstrate the same service on something like this iOS SE phone, which is actually a window, which is an iPhone 6 and an iPhone 5 body, all the way up to iPhone 8. So there's much more widespread capability. We also have LT. It's very widely deployed around the country across all the major carriers, and we're starting to see 5G. So the bandwidth really should be there. We know that dispatchers need more information today, far more emergencies. The professor talked about many of those emergencies in the context of what's needed next, but WebRTC really does the trick and provides a lot of capability for some of those types of urgent issues. One is pictures, the other is live video. For some of you that may or may not be aware, the city of Chicago has a solicited multimedia 911 service. It's something we deployed with Northrop Grumman and OEMC close to 2010. So MMS does exist, but the concept of having live video, not recorded video, but live video, really was lacking. And PSAPs were really not looking for unsolicited video. Namely, they're not looking for citizens at this point in time to be able to pull out their phone and show video and it gets routed in 911. And in the presentation by Precision and Digital, clearly demonstrated that you have to go from WebRTC to SIP, and then from SIP, get it routed through the NG core network. And really from a destination perspective, is it going to be video to 911 and which PSAP? So there's still a lot of missing pieces, both from a specification standpoint as well as a deployment scenario, but we're getting there. Which is why we focused on solicited video as an extension of what we had done at OEMC several years ago. We know the wireless carriers have spent a lot of money on IMS, but from a 911 perspective, an NG perspective, we haven't seen any video yet or multimedia. And really, until we got to the point where a handset did not require any special downloadable client, did not require any special technology, it was hard to contemplate that this is a live and viable service, which I'm going to do a demo today of what we found. So really what the multimedia acquisition workflow looks like, and this is more of a solicited phone. Somebody texts or dials 911. Presumably, if they're texting, it's a text-enabled PSAP. Mobile phone call taker says, hey, I have some video I want to share. They set up a video call. What happens is our system, in concert with either CAD or as a result of text calls that's using our application, we send out credentials via text, or it could be any one of the technologies like RCS, to the mobile handset. And then the citizen is able to click on a link in there, a shortened URL, and then create a session, a one-off session between a call taker, dispatcher, as well as a wireless user. And really, we started out in 2010 with an MMS, and we're now getting there. And this is essentially what it looks like in what we have for the City of Chicago. I've kind of embellished the pictures a little bit to make it easier, but essentially we send a message to the wireless phone. It uses a commercial shortcode as the number 911 does not support solicited or outbound texting, all of it's inbound. And essentially asks the citizen to reply, attach a picture. Picture comes in. We provide it to a dispatcher as part of the flow. It gets integrated with CAD. And now they're able to archive and store that picture as part of the record. There's also a couple of other things. One is when somebody sends that picture in, a confirmation back to the wireless user that the city has in fact received their picture. And then lastly, an expiration, meaning if I send you a link or provide you a link to engage me in a video or a multimedia session, I want it to expire after some time. I don't remember the city's expiration policy, but one could be anywhere from a half an hour up to 4 hours, where you're essentially saying after that point any additional multimedia cannot be shared. So this is actually a slide that was stolen from Brian Knupples a few years ago, and essentially, why WebRTC? WebRTC enables browser and browser to native mobile apps, meaning no client download, easily available. And when I tried to demo and I've looked at this in the past, there wasn't wide enough support to say, hey, this is now a meaningful service. What this picture is actually showing is like a WebRTC server. And there are multiple vendors. One is Oracle, Dialogio, or actually Cisco. They're able to offer those types of connections and essentially terminate it anywhere with SIP or REST. I'm going to show you something today that's a little different, but essentially, that's the concept there, where you have WebRTC in the middle. It's not considered a core technology, meaning next-gen or IP standards don't support SIP, but we're looking at more of an edge technology that can be solicited. Ultimately, it complements core routing, and there's been even talk within the standards committee about supporting WebRTC, and I think the conversation by the professor that this may be a technology that could help us in the future may drive those additional discussions around standardization. And it's widely available. I mean, the fact is, we're looking at from a 911 perspective, kind of the concept of a little bit more conservative, slower-moving industry, but essentially, commercial contact centers have been doing this for a while, and you're already able to engage in text chat and video chat using WebRTC. If you look at the wireless carriers, RTT or real-time text, WebRTC may be an enabling technology to help call takers be able to process those. Again, it's like more of a TCP-connected type service. And from a pictorial perspective, which is a little bit different than the one from InDigital and Precision before, this one takes a slightly different view where the session may be initiated over the I3 port. So, this is a citizen or a texter on their mobile phone. They're calling, they're texting. They're getting into the 911 center or the PSAP. The PSAP says, hey, you have some video to share or multimedia, and they come through an alternative methodology, namely a WebRTC server, and we're able to conduct a session with them that's WebRTC related, and tie it in with that 911 session using either their call handling or their CAD tool. Now, the one nice thing about WebRTC is it works just as well on the front end as it does in the back end. So, from the perspective of FirstNet, and I'll show you the link. It's fairly simple. You can enable that link so you can send it out to a first responder via text or to a FirstNet SIP handset, and now they're able to engage in a multi-way conversation. And essentially, you can make it so that the texter or the citizen is only sharing video, comes in here, and now you're pushing that out this way. But just as well, you can enable each direction as well. As an example, you may want to provide pre-arrival instructions for a medical emergency. So all that's possible with WebRTC, but really the objective is to get multimedia. So I have a couple of pictures here of the demo, but I'm actually going to do it for you. However, one, it's either solicited as a result of text to 911. So within our browser-based solution here, and I'll kind of move the picture so you can see, it's possible to initiate a web session or an API integration. So what I wanted to show you is, let me move this back here. Oops. I can solicit, in the box here, or using the canned message and say, hey, please click to share video with the dispatcher. Essentially what it does is it creates a link here, which we could then embed within the browser here, the video. So you don't have to video the call taker dispatcher, but essentially they're wanting to see the session with the wireless user. So with that, why don't I kick in, and I've already set up the demo so we could get to it right now. Now this is that video demo. So this is the we'll call it call taker dispatcher view of the world. And on my mobile phone, what I did is I sent a text message, and I'll just show you. This is actually the Verizon app. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but essentially I sent a text message to my mobile phone. Click on this link to share the video. And, this could be presumably a hashed out, shortened URL. I'm just sending, just doing it as a demo here, but essentially it's a hashed out URL. And I'm able to then use this link to kind of line everybody up. Before I was able to demo this with three separate participants in the chat session. So I'm going to open it up here. First thing it does is it prompts me to my microphone and camera, which I'm going to probably have to mute the sound, otherwise I'm going to create an enormous echo. Oops. Let me try that one more time. But let's, oops, I've accidentally killed something here. Just taking a second over my air card. And that's one video. And let me get this here. Not showing up on my browser. Well, either way, I could show you with even the back of my camera. You know, the video is actually pretty good. And what I'm able to do is be able to, on my phone, let me try this one more time. Pardon? Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do, is get the video. I actually didn't video the demo session, or I tried to, it didn't work that well. But what I wanted to show is the video off my phone. Give me one more second. Oh, okay. Let me try one more time. So, give me 1 second. We've seen these demos before. They don't always work as anticipated. Yeah. Okay. Hopefully it'll work this time. Why does this happen? No, I'm actually using the cell phone network, but I don't know if I just have a bad Wi-Fi. Pardon? There it is. But it was fairly. Sorry for the delay. Yeah, there we go. I think it just timed out. Okay, there we go. So much for my enthusiasm for, you know. Which I'm trying to do this off the Wi-Fi network entirely versus, you know, conservatively going to the okay, well, let me, oh, here it is. So it asked me, you know, am I going to allow this and that. So, and I should be able to get it. So, I'm going to avoid the echo, and it's using the front side of my camera, but essentially you can look at the room, and this is all, you know, fairly adept. I mean, I don't know what the bandwidth around here. I mean, it is LTE. It's not using Wi-Fi. And again, this is coming through my phone all the way back through our AWS server to the WebRTC, and then back to my laptop. So this is really kind of what it would look like. And I tried the same thing on an Android phone. You know, generally speaking, a good experience. I found it a little bit darker and hazier, but essentially fairly quick to respond. And essentially, the link that I'm showing right here, and that I clicked on my mobile phone, required no special software, no download. Essentially, I'm just using a hosted WebRTC, you know, application server, and it was able to do this. And if I were to send this link to another party, I could allow them to join the session like a first responder. In fact, if I were to add another phone to this, which I did this morning, it will split screen it and then add the other device. And, you know, a 911 center may want to enable, you know, dispatcher to share video or imagery from their end, or maybe even a pre-canned video, or not. So that was the way it worked. But you know, really, to my great surprise from a technology perspective, was the fact that it was able to work on this, you know, iPhone and any other iPhones. I will admit that this iPhone had OS from 2 years ago. When I did the upgrade, it worked, you know, kind of out of the box. It does ask a permission for using microphone and video, but once you quickly enabled them, the session went easier, and hopefully easier than from a demo perspective today. I'll leave that there if there's any other questions about it. But, you know, that was how to do it within a chat. And again, as you kind of saw there, that was a hosted iframe. So essentially, you take that iframe, I could put it in a page there like our application, or a call handling vendor, or CAD vendor could simply integrate it, put it as a new browser page, and link it in. So it can work with either iframe or JavaScript. We use a short URL, so we have a built-in short URL shortener that would allow us to take, you know, a session with a variety of credentials and hashing. So you could have multiple rooms, meaning in a large agency where they may want to engage, you know, 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 simultaneous WebRTC sessions, they could do that. The text invite, something that if you were in the middle of a 911 session, you could actually embed it in a 911. Otherwise, we just use a commercial shorter long code. And again, using that refer session URL allows you to share with first responders. And I showed you this experience, but again, you know, the key why I reached out to Mark and recognizing there's a lot of WebRTC here is, you know, the technology is mature and meaningful. I think a lot of this was covered before, you know, in digital presentation and precision. You know, the i3 core is really for routing, you know, voice and multimedia. However, for WebRTC, it offers a new dimension, no download. But it's not part of the i3 standard. There have been numerous discussions about embedding it there, but essentially leaks citizen and first responder and kind of creates that demand for next gen. What time do we have? Because I had a couple of more things. I'm going to talk for just a couple more minutes, and then I know everybody is like, you know, wants to get off the blockchain or kind of end their day. But this kind of dovetails with what the professor was talking about before, and many of the themes going on. And essentially, it's a matter of looking at wider scale emergencies and how to essentially process them. We saw one way with WebRTC, but this is really how to look at text and use it in a more meaningful fashion. So what we've done is we've started leveraging natural language processing, or AI, and automation as a way to essentially allow, you know, call takers and dispatchers to do their job more quickly, but allow citizens to be able to more quickly engage 911 for a widespread incident, maybe like an accident, automate those flows so that they come directly in, and I'll show you what I mean. This is actually an example of our call taker chat window. It's deployed in the city of New York for 911. And essentially what we've built out is a number of, you know, kind of EMD protocols and written flows for agencies that is searchable, for which if I were to change languages, I can now change and create instructions that are multilingual. You can create hierarchies in here where for EMD, as many of you are familiar, there's protocols. So if someone calls and says, I'm having chest pain, is male or female, what's the age? All these things are, you know, starting to see from a automation perspective, it can be embedded in almost like a canned message flow. So these are really canned messages, but they're a series of instructions by agencies that are searchable and kind of mixed together. The next is what I'll call a triage flow, and it's similar to the examples described before, where either proximity or keywords, namely parsable text, create a need to route it to a specific either individual within a PSAP or an agency. And a lot of this thinking is driven by some of the experience here in Hurricane Harvey. We work with the 911 authority in Houston and saw some things happening. One is, of course, there's a widespread incident. You can use artificial intelligence to capture all the location data, draw a circle, and say, okay, we now have some number of incidents within a particular area, or in a very simple fashion, the supervisor recognizes, hey, I'm seeing 72 texts or voice calls come in from one area, I draw a circle, and now I route those all to the same supervisor and create a window for them. The other key thing that's oftentimes asked is, okay, if I route all these people here, and it turns out this guy is calling because there's a heart attack versus all these others that are calling about the accident, how do I allow them to exit? And we've created a way that they can even exit a triage conversation. So essentially, if I take this and I combine it with the ability to have a texter come into a specific supervisor position or go to an agency. So as an example, if a number of folks are texting in that they have a water emergency and the Coast Guard is managing water emergencies, route those conversations all to a position or to another agency. And essentially using that triage from a supervisor to these various positions or agencies allow you to quickly process those text chats or conversations. So there's an example of proximity-based calls that are handled as a single group, calls group based upon various keywords or conversation types, water rescue, etc. So if I look at the next slide, which is a lot like an IVR but using text, and the nice thing about using text in this context is water rescue. And then the system starts parsing and asking a series of conversational questions like an IVR, collects that information, puts it into an XML or a RESTful type call, and is able to send it to another agency or a CAD system. So essentially using all the information that's been provided, but getting it to the right individuals or folks. Yeah. Okay, no problem. I'm actually almost done. Yep. Oh, okay. Well, let's get out of here. So, one of the key things and the drivers behind at least the first part of the conversation is, using user experience to increase adoption. So, essentially, by providing tools and technologies, we're going to move towards next-gen adoption. That's all next-gen really is the same voice calls that are processed in a slightly different way with slower carriage because it's all IP-based. While we will see reliability improvements, we won't see that kind of adoption. So ultimately, a lot of these new flows and capabilities will help drive next gen. So that's really what I would say. But I think WebRTC is one of those technologies, and I think that hopefully the demo at least convince you that it's kind of ready for prime time and integrated with some of those 911 tools, which we're really moving towards rapidly. We'll start to see a lot more adoption. So that's it. So I don't know if there's any quick questions, or feel free to reach out to me. Time to market. I mean, all this is now. I mean, from our perspective, having kind of found some of these technologies, we are now starting to work with some customers who are interested in this, as well as DHS has a profound interest in looking at new ways to reach out. So from a time to market perspective, I think we're now at 6 months to a